My name is Sareeta Domingo, and I am an editor and the author of a handful of books for adults and young adults. My latest book is an anthology of love stories written by British women of colour called Who's Loving You, that I conceived and edited and contributed to.
My name is Maxine Beneba Clarke, and I'm the author of around 10 books for kids and adults. I'm the editor of the anthology Growing Up African in Australia, which is a non-fiction anthology of African diaspora voices. And yeah, I write poetry, kids' books, memoir, and short fiction.
What don't you write? That's amazing. Well, hi, Maxine. It's really amazing to be able to share this time with you. And we've been asked to write some letters to our past selves. So we're going to be reading one another our letters. So I guess I will read the letter that you wrote to yourself. So I'll do that now. Dear smart, determined, kind 12-year-old black girl, I'm writing to say, keep your head up, to remind you that you know the way. I'm not writing to say, don't be scared. That is a cliche that doesn't belong in your story. There are good reasons to be afraid. Don't let anyone minimize the struggles you'll face, the hatred you'll encounter. How you face that fear will be the making of you. I know these things because I was you. You know these things because you became me. I know things are difficult for you right now, there on stolen Gadigal country, just beginning to understand what it means to be a child of Afro-Caribbean descent and Black British legacy, born and living in so-called Australia at this particular moment in history. In just over 20 years, your story will live on bookshelves and in hearts around the country. In 30, your story will be on the grade 12 school syllabus in your home state. Your memoir, The Hate Race, will remain the most challenging of all the books you've written, now numbering over 10. Yeah, you made it. Though your ancestors learned to read at risk of whipping, at risk of death. That saying, I am my ancestors' wildest dreams, you were, you are. You are Black Girl Magic. Your latest work is a picture book, When We Say Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a global Black civil rights movement founded by 3 African American women and is what some of that energy fighting against racial injustice over centuries has culminated in. I won't lie to you. Existing as a Black girl, woman in the world is still exhausting, but Black joy is real too, and you will always find your way back home to it. Dear beautiful, some change did arrive in your life and the world. The United States has seen its first Black president and vice president. Bookshelves started to diversify. Same-sex marriage was legalized in Australia. Some things, unfortunately, became worse. I write in the midst of a global pandemic, from a burning world, from the edge of inequality. The seasons are shifting. Bushfires, hurricanes, and tsunamis have become more common. On Fridays, kids your age all around the world skip school to protest climate change. War is not a thing of the past, nor violence against women, nor genocide, nor police brutality. For around every 103 people in the world, one is an internally displaced person, asylum seeker, or refugee. The gap between the rich and the poor is ever increasing. Sometimes things seem as hopeless as they ever were. There are so many things I'd like to explain to you. iPhones, Beyonce, ebooks, the 2 beautiful children you've raised, the strong Black woman you grew into. There are so many things I want to tell you. Floss every night. Don't straighten your hair in 8th grade. Pop-Tarts are not real food. You'll eventually have your first kiss behind the Balcombe Hills Pizza Hut. His breath will smell like pepperoni. It will be shockingly underwhelming. But really, what I want to say is this. Despite the chaos of the world that is, you are proof of progress, of fairer lawmaking, of greater racial understanding, of how education opens doors, of years of campaigning for women's rights, of a changing world. Your life was gifted to you by the struggles, persistence, and vision of those who came before you. This is how we'll get there, gathering good people around us and stepping one foot in front of the other towards everything that is right and fair and kind and humane and decent. Dear, smart, determined, kind 12-year-old Black girl, your one job, on the page or outside of it, is to just keep trying to make the world a better place. I know you know that because I know it too.
Thank you for such a beautiful reading. Now, Sareeta, you've also written a letter to your younger self, and I'm going to read that out to you now. Dear Sareeta, you are embarking on a path of artistry and storytelling with no pretension. Indeed, with no real consideration other than the desire to put forth the narrative that swirls inside your mind. I envy you in so many ways. You are free of the burden of expectation from others or for yourself. You have both the confidence of knowing that your skill is at a level that will get your story heard by someone somewhere, and the naivety of not knowing the limitations you may face. On the first point, you are right. A few queries will net you an agent, a few more, and then you'll have found a publisher at an imprint of one of the biggest publishing companies in the world. This is not a metric for success for you, though, and it still is not. What you do not know, what you're only truly beginning to learn 5 years later, is the extent to which the world is eager to put you in a box. The world of literature is eager to contain you, to contain all writers, but especially those inhabiting an identity deemed marginal. A romantic story must cater to a certain audience in a certain way. Cling to the knowledge that they are all wrong. 4 sides cannot contain you, and categorization may be a useful marketing tool, but it has nothing to do with creativity. They will want to know what it means to be Black, to be British, to be woman, and to be loved, to write about love. You will think about it and you will tell them. But the stories you tell will continue to be about the truth of the narrative, not the words must or should or must not. This will be tough, drowning out the noise and seeking the kernel of truth at the heart of the matter always is and always will be. Something will happen to you in these years from your first novel. Something that will clarify what you truly want from life and what is important to your future, diaphanous though it may be to see your way to. And that will be to tell your stories, to get all of them out, no matter what. You've only just begun.
It's so strange hearing words read back to you like that. It was really nice. Thank you so much. We have a couple of questions that we're going to ask one another about the letters that we've written. And my first question to you is, it was really interesting trying to decide what point in my life to write to myself, which point to aim for. And I wondered why you chose yourself at 12 years of age.
Oh, that's a fabulous question. I think, 12 years old was very pivotal for me. In Australia, it's kind of the end of primary school and the start of high school. It's that beginning of adolescence. And I think, there's a real shift in the expectations, particularly as a young Black girl, that people put on you as a child versus as an adolescent. And so I kind of thought, what would be the time of receiving this letter that would be the most life-changing, I guess. And that felt like 12 years old.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's such a sort of, you're on the cusp of sort of womanhood. And obviously as Black women, there's a particular edge to being viewed as a woman that comes in maybe a bit earlier for us than it might for other people. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And I was reading your letter, I guess, it's such a powerful letter in terms of the expectations placed on us as Black writers and what you're supposed to write about or allowed to write about. And I wanted to know how you think receiving this letter as your past self, whether you think it would have changed your journey, and if so, how you think it would have changed your journey as a writer.
Mm. I think I don't know that it would necessarily have been a positive thing, because I really do think I went into my writing career, as I say in the letter, with the sense of naivety that I almost envy now, because I wasn't thinking about what I've written and how it would be characterized or categorized as romance fiction, which is kind of what I've been told I am as a writer. I'm a romance writer. And it's not that I don't love that, but I wasn't thinking about it at all. I didn't think, right, I'm setting out to write romance fiction and it needs to be perceived in a certain way and execute things in a certain way. I was just writing a story. And, I can never go back to that. And I don't think I would want to take that away from the person who I was when I wrote my first novel. So I think it's really just been a learning experience for me since that book came out. And I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, apparently. And it's taken, sort of 5 years to shake that off and think, no, just write what you want to write. And don't really think about how it's going to be perceived. Not yet, at least, wait till you've written the book.
Oh, that's a really interesting answer. I feel like that time writing your first book is just that blissful cave of not having, had to do a publicity tour or answer any of those questions or be categorized. And it's a time that you don't get back. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I know that a lot of your writing has been sort of autobiographical or autofictional, drawing from your life in a lot of ways. And it was a curious experience for me writing a letter like this, because that's not something I've really done in my own writing so much. Whereas I know that that's something you've explored a lot as a writer. So did writing this letter feel different to that? Or was it something you're like, this is familiar to me, this is the kind of thing I do?
I mean, it felt a little bit different because of that sense of writing to yourself. When I'm writing, I kind of, you're thinking about the story and the characters and the page and, potentially the reader. And all of a sudden you think, okay, what would I, it was kind of a nice experience. This is just for me kind of thing for my younger self. So even though it's an autobiographical letter, it felt like an audience that I've essentially never written to before. I've never been someone to keep a journal or to kind of write things to myself for some reason. And so, yeah, it was a really interesting experience.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I keep a diary, but I never think of it as writing to myself, even though it's not for anyone else's consumption. So yeah, that it's a really unique experience. I really enjoyed it.
I have a question that's kind of, I guess, a spin on your first question for me. I found it interesting that both of us, with this exercise, we were told we could write a letter to our future self or to our past self. And yeah, that question of why did you choose past self as opposed to future self for this exercise?
I think it was more instinctive. I suppose we've got more to draw on because we've experienced the past already. And I read a book once that it had a reference to, and I don't know what culture it's from, but it talked about moving forward into the future, but you're always facing backwards into the past. So you're sort of progressing, but you can't see forwards, you can only see behind you. And I think that that kind of speaks to me as a person, I guess. It's so hard to know what's going to be in the future. It's sort of behind your back, even though you're advancing. So I think it was just an instinctive choice to delve into the past because the future is so unknowable. And maybe it would feel a bit arrogant to kind of imagine a future or project a future. So yeah, I think that's probably why. How about you?
Yeah, I think similar. It feels like a strange point in history to be projecting a future to begin with. It's kind of like things just seem to be changing so rapidly. Um, and yeah, also that there's been a few times in my life where I've been asked that question, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? And I always kind of freeze up. How do you even answer that? And I think as writers, which is strange because we live in other worlds. But for me, I find I live in the present. I'm focusing on what I'm making right now. I'm not really thinking about, too much about the future. So yeah, it just seemed natural.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. And I have one final question about your letter. I really liked the injection of humor that came in because it's quite, there's a lot of deeper themes and, broad ideas in your letter, but it also had some like practical, humorous advice to your 12-year-old self. How important is humor to your writing, or was that just like a little thing to entertain yourself in the letter?
No, I think humor is really important, to my writing. Often people say, "Oh, I read your memoir, and it's really it's hard going." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's really funny." Even though I'm writing about racism, sometimes things happen because of racism that are just hilarious. Someone mistaking you for a different person 100 times, and so yeah, those I think humor it's really important in my life in general and as a writer. And yeah, the same question to you. You write, romance or love stories. Is there kind of a stigma of including humor in those stories? Is it kind of a genre where that's not expected, or do you often employ humor in your work?
I tend not to. And I mean, obviously, in romance, there is sort of a romantic comedy genre. The two are very married, particularly in films. You don't really think romance, you think rom com. But that's not something, I don't think it's my natural gift. It's just not something that really comes through in my writing necessarily. I think maybe like kind of the sexier angle is more the thing that I'm like, let me flex my muscles here. But humor doesn't really come into my writing a great deal, at least not consciously. Maybe some people might disagree, but yeah, it's not something that I draw for just because I don't think it's really in my toolbox in the same way.
Yeah. Well, it's been incredible to learn more about you and your work and your writing, and wonderful for me to have a conversation with a Black British writer as well.
Absolutely, yeah, and same for you, a Black Australian author. It's a privilege to get a chance to chat to you, and I can't wait to delve into your back catalogue and read some of your stuff.
Let's keep in touch.